is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Freedom Fire Podcast. We want to stoke the flames of freedom every single day. My name is Kendall Bowman, and ladies and gentlemen, all I have to say is this. There are very few times, at least in my opinion, there's very few times throughout history where the government intervening in a situation and quote unquote trying to help. There's very few situations in my time where that situation didn't end up worse because of government intervention. And that, of course, is a story that we have for you today. From the Post-Millennial, Chicago considers creation of a government-operated grocery store. Now, I know you might be thinking, why would they ever need a government-operated grocery store? Why would they ever need a public grocery store? Why can't they just call Walmart and say, hey, we need a couple of stores in these areas? I'm sure Walmart would love to have the business, right? We'll get to that. We'll get to. Let's just say it's the government's fault. Let's continue. Let's read. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson has revealed that the city will be partnering with the Economic Security Project to explore the creation of a government-owned grocery store in order to assist historically underserved communities. Yes. We're all just going to blame this on race. Of course, we're going to blame this on race rather than the own stupidity of our government. Because the government would, of course they would never take responsibility for their own mistakes and failures. Let's continue. All Chicagoans deserve to live near convenient, affordable, healthy grocery options. We know access to grocery stores is already a challenge for many residents, especially on the south and west sides. Now, remember, south and west sides. Remember that for later in this video, said Mayor Brandon Johnson, according to an office press release. A better, stronger, safer future is one where our youth and our communities have access to the tools and resources they need to thrive. My administration is committed to advancing innovative, whole-of-government approaches to address these inequities. I am proud to work alongside partners to take this step and yada, yada, yada. Johnson's release noted it aims to promote food equity. I would don't be surprised if they actually make this whole grocery store thing happen, and then white people end up having to pay more for their groceries than people of color. Don't be surprised, because that right there, equity means outcome. It means equality of outcome. Not equality of outcome. That's what that means. So if you can read between the lines in there, you see where that's going. And that estimates from the U.S. Department of Agriculture found that 63.5% of residents in West Englewood and 52% of residents in East Garfield Park live more than half a mile from their nearest grocery store. Whereas in West Town, less than 1% of residents experience this barrier to food access. This initiative, if completed, would mark Chicago becoming the first major U.S. city to launch a government-owned grocery store to deal with food inequity, according to the release. The city of Chicago is reimagining the role government can play in our lives by exploring a public option for grocery stores via a municipally owned grocery store and market, stated Amia Pawar, a senior advisor at the Economic Security Project. Not dissimilar from the way a library or a postal service operates. A public option offers economic choice and power to communities. A city-owned grocery store in the south or west side of Chicago would be a viable way to restore access to healthy food in areas that have suffered from historic and systemic disinvestment. Yes. historic and systemic disinvestment. The administration has reportedly kicked off a feasibility study to see how the new store can succeed. But I want to focus on that right there. Historic and systemic disinvestment. Oh boy. Oh boy. Ladies and gentlemen, why might there be a problem with the south and the west side of Chicago? Why might there be a problem for those areas getting a grocery store? Well, if you remember, back in, I believe it was April, they had grocery stores. 3 of them, actually, on the south and the west side. This is what happened to them. Why Walmart is closing half its stores in Chicago. Now, this is from CNN Business, and anything that has to do with CNN is, of course, not going to give you the full story. But let's read anyway. This is back in April 13th of 2023. So, just earlier this year, they had grocery stores. So, this is not systemic disinvestment. Let's talk about why exactly these stores chose to leave. Walmart plans to close half its stores in Chicago, a reversal of the retail giant's high-profile commitment in 2020 to expand in the city as part of its corporate racial justice initiative in the wake of George Floyd's murder by police. So we see here, Walmart made an attempt. They made an attempt to invest in the city. And what exactly did they get out of it? Walmart announced Tuesday that next week it will close for 4 poor performing stores out of the 8 it operates in Chicago. 3 of the locations are located in Chicago's south and west side neighborhoods. Now, of course, we have this here. Of course, they're going to make it about race, of course, which are predominantly minority and have long struggled with grocery and retail access. One of the stores is in Chicago's north side, which is predominantly white and more affluent. Okay, well, if one of the stores is in a whiter neighborhood and is also being closed down, that it has nothing to do with race and a lot more to do with the fact that they are poor performing stores. The stores are not performing well. But the real question is, why might they not be performing well? What could possibly cause these grocery stores? I mean, if the stores are so needed that the Chicago government is thinking of opening their own grocery, what could possibly be the reason why Walmart chose to leave? It's crime. It's crime. Rampant crime in Chicago, especially on the south and the west side. Rampant crime. Shoplifting. I used to work at a grocery. My first ever official job. Of course, I would mow people's lawns and things like that. And, that was a thing I did for a while. But my first, quote unquote, official job was I worked at Kroger. Okay. I was a bag boy at Kroger. Okay. And so you got to understand the majority of the loss, the overwhelming majority of loss that these stores take comes from people stealing their products, comes from shoplifting. Guys, that's the reason why Walmart left, is because people just walk in and just steal everything. And of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit. They're not stealing everything. But Walmart is taking a loss by keeping the stores in those areas, because in those areas, it's high crime. Those are high crime areas. People are coming in, they're stealing things, shoplifting, and Walmart is taking a loss. I don't know if you know this, but Walmart didn't get to be the largest grocery store chain, I think, in the world by taking a loss. So, Walmart chooses to invest in the community of Chicago, in these communities within Chicago, and this is what they get out of it. People just taking advantage of them, stealing all their stuff that they didn't have to invest in this city. They didn't have to do that. But this is what they got out of it when they did. Walmart chose to invest in these communities, and they got screwed by the people that live there. Rampant stealing, rampant shoplifting. So much to the point where these stores were taking a loss. Now, if I were the business owner in this situation, if I was the owner of Walmart, if I'm the CEO, I'm not keeping these stores open either. Because I don't want to take a loss. I don't want to lose money. I got to keep my company going. And these stores are a drag on the company. What else is Walmart supposed to do? By the way, CNN they went off on Walmart in this article, several other articles. I mean, there was a bunch of other news outlets that just went off on Walmart for this, as if they were somehow racist for taking these stores away. No, this was not a race-based issue. This is not an issue that was based in race. It's an issue that's based in crime. And the real question is, why might there be so much rampant crime in the city of Chicago, especially now? Of course, Chicago has always had a pretty significant problem with crime, but it's so much worse now than what it used to be. I mean, cops in the city of Chicago, they used to actually arrest people for going in stores and shoplifting and stealing things. Now they really don't. It's kind of like LA, where it's like, unless you steal a certain amount of money, then we're not going to arrest you. You know, that's kind of how the cops are treating this. And the question is why? Oh, this is why. From Forbes, Democratic mayors defunded their police while spending millions on their own police protection. Let's go all the way down straight to the city of Chicago. The city spent $17.3 million between 2015 and 2020 to guard unnamed city officials. That's as Mayor Lori Lightfoot said she's opposed to defunding the police, but Forbes found that 400 police officers' positions were quietly cut during 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, the government intervened in a situation they didn't need to intervene in. They cut 400 police officer jobs in the city of Chicago. The former mayor, Lori Lightfoot. I've done a video about the just rampant crime increase. Not just rampant crime, because Chicago already had rampant crime. The rampant increase in crime that Chicago has seen since 2020. And it can go directly back to Lori Lightfoot's decision to cut 400 police officer jobs as the former mayor of Chicago. So, we see, this is the Democrat position. The Democrat, by the way, I gotta find it. Here we go, right here. This is specifically a Democrat issue, okay? Specifically a Democrat issue, and this right here shows, from Forbes, we found that the defunding of police, coupled with taxpayer dollars spent on police security details protecting public officials, only occurred in cities run by Democratic mayors. So, they take police protection away from you, but they hire their own private security using your tax dollars to protect them. Not to protect you, to protect them, to protect their own lives. so that they don't have to deal with the consequences of their own decisions, of their own policy making, of the laws that they put into place. Ladies and gentlemen, the government in Chicago, and this is not the only place where this is happening. Chicago's not the only place. It's happening in Portland. I believe it's happening in some places in Seattle. I mean, everywhere where there is Democrat-run cities, you get this kind of garbage. It's happening in LA. Dozens of businesses, dozens of stores have moved out of the city of LA. They're moving out of San Francisco. They're moving out of San Diego because the rampant crime. Police are no longer doing their jobs. One, because if they do, and they end up having to do their job, and that job requires them to have to kill somebody with a gun in order to either protect themselves or to protect others, we know what's going to happen then. I mean, BLM's just going to burn the city down. The officer that did it is just going to get crucified in court. He's going to end up in prison. It's a whole thing for that guy. So none of these officers that are on the job, none of them want to take that chance. And secondly, the cities are just outright telling them, oh, don't arrest people for stealing. Don't arrest people for shoplifting. Don't arrest people for doing these things. Do you think that is an environment that a business like Walmart would want to invest in? No, it's not. Because they know if we put a store here, all our stuff's just going to get stolen and we're not going to make any money. That's exactly what happened to Walmart when they chose to invest in the south and the west sides of Chicago. This is exactly what happened to them. Ladies and gentlemen, the government created the problem of rampant crime, which created the problem of no grocery stores in these areas, or very few grocery stores in these areas. And now, once again, the Democrats in Chicago think that the solution to this problem is the government once again stepping in to fix the issue, or to try to fix the issue. This isn't going to work. I mean, they're going to find out real quick what happened to Walmart. They're going to find out exactly what happened to Walmart. They're going to put a government-owned grocery store in here. People are going to just walk in, they're going to steal a bunch of stuff, and the grocery store will make no money. And who knows? Maybe they'll actually keep it open because, you know, the government's just going to say, "Oh, well, it's your money anyways. We don't give a crap." So, you know, maybe that's a thing, but there is a constant issue here of Democrat officials intervening in situations that they don't need to intervene in. That intervention creates major issues, okay? And then they think that the solution to the new issues that have now been created from their first intervention is more government intervention. Ladies and gentlemen, Democrats are not good at running cities. Chicago, let me just say this. Chicago has been run by Democrats for over 100 years now. And it is a cesspool. Look at Portland, cesspool. Look at Seattle, cesspool. The three major the major cities in California, LA, San Francisco, San Diego, cesspools. Rampant crime, rampant homelessness. These are not places that businesses want to invest in. Because when they choose to invest in those areas, it is a loss every time. Every time. Meanwhile, you look at states in the South, cities in the South that are run by Republicans, cities like Fort Worth, Texas, that are getting huge investment, major investment, because they are low crime, low homelessness cities run by Republicans. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a Democrat watching this video, look at the evidence in front of your face, man. And stop voting for these idiots. Stop voting for these Democrats, man. They don't care about you. They care about getting your vote and then getting into office so that they can hold on to power, so that they can have control. That's what they want, man. That's what they want. Look at the evidence. Look at Washington, D.C. Once again, another city. Rampant crime, rampant homelessness. The only reason Washington, D.C. isn't as bad as most Democrat cities is because that's where all the politicians are. And they don't want their city, being filthy and gross. But the reality is that Washington, D.C. is still really bad compared to the average city. You want to know something? Washington, D.C. has never had anything other than a Democratic mayor. Never. In the entire history of Washington, D.C., Washington, D.C. has never had any other party's representative as its mayor. Only Democrats. And once again, it's a cesspool. I live in the great state of Texas. That's it. Chicago is exactly what's happening to Austin right now, to San Antonio. I grew up, I grew up in Kentucky, but when I was younger, we moved back to Texas, and I spent a lot of time in San Antonio. I live in North Texas, but we would regularly drive down and make trips to San Antonio and spend time there. And it's just a really fun city. There's lots of things to do, so we would regularly take vacations there. You wouldn't walk down the street and see homeless people everywhere. You wouldn't see rampant crime, people stealing things. Guys, I took my wife down to San Antonio. I want to say this was like the first year of our marriage. And this was the first time that I had been back to San Antonio in several years. So I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be a great time. There's lots of things to do. It's a very clean, very nice city. We get there and we're walking down the street, going to some restaurant, and there's a homeless man digging in the trash, literally digging in a public trash can, pulls out a half-drinking beer bottle and just takes a swig. And then we turn to our right down an alleyway, and there's another homeless man peeing on a dumpster. Not hiding away from just out in front of everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not something that normal people want to be around. But that is exactly what happens when Democrats control your city. It's exactly what happens. I don't know what to tell you guys, man. If you want garbage like this to keep happening, rampant crime, no companies wanting to invest in your cities, if that's what you want, then by all means, keep voting Democrat, because that's all that's going to get you. Do whatever, do you. Couldn't be me, man. Could not be me. I like my wife and my kids to be able to live in safe neighborhoods, to be able to live in a place where we can go to a grocery store and get groceries. Naturally, my what I really want is to be able to freaking get off the grid and, you know, have chickens and a garden and some goats and things like that. That's just me, you know. I'm not in the financial situation right now to be able to do that, but hey, that's the freaking dream for me, man. I don't know. Maybe that's the answer for a lot of you. Maybe it's not. Tell me what you think down in the comments, man. I'm going to leave it there. I'll have another video coming for you guys on Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section, share the show with your friends, follow me on all the socials down in the description, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we put out new videos. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.